My name is Väinö, and I'll try to give a presentation about small unit tactics in medieval fantasy. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to raise your hand or just shout, and we'll see how it goes after that, if I'm back on track or not. But ask questions anytime you want. A few remarks to start with, then I'll introduce the brave group of adventurers, then some basics of combat techniques, and in the end I have some situations and examples of the tactics that could be effective in those situations. I haven't based this presentation on any actual sources, but for a few years I've been doing tabletop RPGs, computer games, and I have picked things during the years, so it has some basis, but I haven't had any actual sources to pinpoint that this comes from that source and so forth. I'll be system neutral, so some kind of RPG system might not deal with these situations quite like this, but I'll try to keep it at least in a general sense something that is suitable for everything. I'll try to keep it as realistic as possible. Of course, in medieval fantasy we have magic, but the magic that I've been thinking in these situations is not that all-powerful thing that just solves everything, but it's something that you can use as a part of the combat situation. And realistic in a sense that usually living beings don't want to die. So the effect on morale and running away is also a thing. So usually living beings don't fight to the death unless there is an actual reason to do that. The cover image was from Divinity Original Sin 2, and the following image on the next pages were made by me with Dungeon Draft and that Milbis Maps Token Collection 1. Dungeon Draft is, I think, you have to pay for that, but that token collection was free use. Of course, because this is about combat, there will be some mentions of violence in different situations, but no graphic pictures. Maybe some flaming goblins, but that's it. So this is the adventuring group that I'll be using. We have a general melee fighter, then we have a ranged fighter, maybe a ranger or something like that. Then a tinkerer or a thief, someone who does nasty things with traps and maybe some smoke bombs, maybe a bit of alchemy on the side, backstabbing and so forth. Then we have a healer, a general mage who throws fireballs and ice bolts and whatever, lightning bolts. And then a summoner who could be a necromancer, a druid, someone who summons demons or something like that. My initial idea was that I would use these classes a bit more in the situations, but I scrapped that, but maybe this will give you some ideas for questions or your own thoughts. So first, a few words about targeting. Here we have our adventuring group on the right side, and then a group of goblins a bit scattered, and then, for example, one troll there also. So good guys on the right and the bad guys on the left side. So a point target could be a leader, some kind of specialist, or a threat. In this situation, here is the biggest threat, of course, the big troll or ogre or something like that, because he's the big and hits hard. You want to take him out as soon as possible. But also this goblin here could be a threat because he is closest to the healer and mage. And if he is able to take out your healer and your mage, then you will have problems. And there is also one goblin here who is running away to get reinforcements. So also a point target that you might want to take out. And even if the goblins usually die quite easily, it might be smart to concentrate attacks on this guy if you know that this one is too slow to actually hit your soft targets. Just take that out with extreme force if necessary, and then you can just take it easy for the next round or however your system works. So a point target, quite easy to understand. Just take out what you think is the biggest threat or the sort of time-sensitive target. Of course, the bad guys can do the same. They can try to take out your healer or someone else, a mage who is blasting them with fireballs. So should these fighters, or well, right now we have only one fighter, should he go here and protect the weaker parts of his group, or should he stay with a larger group of goblins? It's a choice, because if you make a group, then you are making also an area target. So the group of goblins at the top, they are clustered up, a good place for a fireball or some kind of grenade, spells, grenades, even some kind of, if you can make a fire that spreads fast, you can use that as an area target. Falling rocks, everyone dies, whatever you can use. They can be targets of opportunity that they just happen to bunch up, or they may be part of your plan that you try to make a group of enemies that you can then blast with your fireball, and it's easy and looks cool, and your mage is having fun. But like I said in the earlier picture, if you are protecting your own troops, you are also bunching up, maybe making an area target for the enemy to use. So there are choices that there is a risk in both, and you just have to assess that which is the smallest risk that you can take. So if you bunch up to protect, you are also creating area targets. Of course, if the goblins don't have a way to cast fireballs, then you are okay in this situation, but of course, this might not always be the case. Then another, I think, quite simple idea is the range. In melee range, there's the normal melee range with a sword or axe or a mace, which is the, I would say, a meter or two. But then with pole arms, you can attack someone from a longer distance. And if you are using a dagger, you just have to get close. And of course, grappling, if you are forcefully hugging someone, they are not that good at using their weapons at that time. If you can outrange your opponent, it's quite nice, of course. But for example, a pole arm is not that easy to use if you are getting in a close fight with someone else. So you are good with a spear if you can keep them far away, but if they get close to you with a dagger, then you are having problems. And the same idea, of course, with ranged weapons. There's so many different kinds of ranged weapons that it's useless to go through them all here. But there's the range, rate of fire, what kind of damage, how accurate they are. And then this is maybe a bit outside of the box, but if you can control your minions, then maybe you could use them as sort of ranged weapon. Of course, they are using melee attacks, but depending on the minion, it's at least not your summoner who is doing the fighting.
Especially on the minions, that actually reminds me of one campaign where I would really use minions to either tie up enemy leaders or just deny enemies from moving forward
I'll get back to minions, but yeah, minions are extremely useful if, especially when they are, how would I say, expendable. But if it's your favorite pet dragon, then you don't want it to die. But if it's sort of some kind of summoned spirit or skeleton that you have just necromanced up, then it's a different thing, I would say. But yeah, they are very useful. And then we can find this optimal range situation. We have some archers there, but when they are getting hit by a fighter with a mace, they are not doing that much shooting. And of course, vice versa. If you are not able to protect your archers and the goblin is stabbing them in the side, they are not doing that much shooting with the arrows. So outranging people is nice, but that also creates the risk that if you are getting into a close fight with a ranged weapon, you are usually not going to have such fun times. Then a few words about visibility. Of course, smoke, dust, steam are natural occurrences also, but with spells or alchemy, you can do those things as well. Right now we have a smoke cloud blocking the goblin archers at the top, and then some bushes giving some cover at the bottom. And in some kind of building, you would have curtains and stuff like that. And what I'm trying to create here is that these are only blocking vision. If you shoot an arrow through a cloud of smoke, it will hit maybe something, but it will at least hurt. So it's easier or harder to hit things that are in cover, but if you hit, then the damage might be just the same. Of course, darkness. If you can see in the dark, but the opponent can't, it's easier for you. But if you are accustomed to the darkness and then you are suddenly in a bright light, of course it's a different thing altogether. The direction of light is also a thing. If you are fighting someone and the sun is behind you, maybe it's harder for him, your opponent, to see what you are doing because he gets blinded by the sun occasionally. But then there is also a situation, for example, a hill with the sun so low that you can't actually see the sun directly, but it's giving light to the top of the hill. And when you look at it in the direction of the sun, you can see the silhouettes quite easily. So it's easier actually sometimes to see people even if they are in the direction of the sun. There are so many variants here, so that I'm unable to go through all of them. Do you have a question? Yeah, that's true. Well, in this situation, we have 3 archers here who have been blocked by the smoke, and if the smoke is there, we are taking away 3 of their archers while only blocking 1 of our archers and maybe the mage. So we are losing 1 archer, they are losing 3. So of course it's not always a smart thing to do. Yeah, of course. And they can use smoke sometimes, and of course they don't have to stay there, they can move around. So it's something that you can do, but it might not always work. So here, with the smoke, like I said, blocking these archers, the bushes are blocking the vision from the goblins here. So here we are still able to use our own archer for these targets here, but we can't see those. But like I said, we are sort of sacrificing our own damage output, but also taking away their 3 close by. If they can't see them, our enemies here, then they might actually go through the long route towards our melee fighters, which is actually a good thing here. So visibility is a thing, but it's also something that can bite us in our own leg as well. Then mobility. Also, lots of stuff are affecting mobility, terrain, obstacles, hindrances. They might create choke points. If you're able to use traps, especially in the choke points, they are more effective. And if you are able to use the obstacles to protect your flank, then all the more better. So here we have a small lake with a bridge, then some kind of stone wall and rocks on the top side as well. And here the only route towards the adventuring group is over the bridge, but there is also traps on the other side. So this is I would say, a bad situation for the goblins. Of course, they are still able to fire with their own archers, but the adventuring group has protected their softer members. There is the archer able to fire back, and then the melee fighter and our thief are, if necessary, in the close combat situation. But if we turn this around, and the goblins are the ones defending, then the same choke point that was quite nice earlier is not that great anymore. So we could try to go through the rocks at the top, but that would probably slow the fighter down so much that the troll here could intercept him before he gets to the archers, or at least the goblin archers have more time to shoot back. Or if we try to disable the traps here, then we are getting arrows all the time from the other side as well. So this is why I talked about the sort of realism before. If it's insane to attack to a choke point, why would you do that? Why not just wait, gather reinforcements? Or what is the reason that would make the goblins attack into a choke point like that? Or what's the reason for the adventurers to push through the choke point like that? And that was the basics, and now some situations that, of course, use those basics, but these are only examples. It's not the word of God or anything like that, so if you have your own ideas, they are more than welcome. Here I've tried to picture a combined attack. And what I mean here, it's not just attacking the same point target, which is also effective, but here, if you time these attacks correctly, you could get more effect on target. For example, here, if the archer starts by firing an arrow, even though it doesn't even have to hit, but if the troll notices the arrow or it bounces off and doing no damage, it probably still catches the attention of the target. Maybe he flinches a bit, and that gives an opportunity, for example, for the melee fighter to get a good hit in. And when the troll has been hit with an arrow, a flinch from that, then he's getting a mace to the head. There is another flinch from that. Then it's quite a good spot for the thief to do some stabbing motion from behind. So it's not just attacking the same target, but also the timing. And I would say that it's effective if you can pull it off, but it's difficult to work with the timing. And of course, when your friendlies are in close combat and close enough to hit exactly after the arrow hits, then it's possible that you are hitting friendlies. At least the possibility is higher. of course, you can combine this the other way as well. You are just in a sort of almost grapple with your enemy. You push them a bit further away so the archer can fire a bit more easier. You can combine these things in many ways. If we are talking about this in an RPG setting, some systems, when they are so stuck on the sort of rounds that now it's your turn to hit, and then it's the other player's turn to hit, this maybe doesn't come in effect from the system side of things. But I think you could use this, maybe some penalties for the first attacks, but if the combo works, then it's more damage or critical hit or something like that. Then using a bait or something like that, and here, like you said, we are using the minion to gather enemies or tying them up in a close combat, and now we have a quite nice area target. Of course, the minion is taking some hits, so it would be nice if it's expendable asset. So if we are trying to save this minion here, then it's, we have to think about how we are going to attack that group of goblins there. The other action that is going on here is that we have a group of goblins who are under fire from the archer because they are only melee. They have to push through the bushes, but there is traps on the other side. So the archer is sort of creating a situation where you have to push through and attack, but there is a prepared bunch of traps and difficult terrain. So if you are able to somehow force the enemy to move where you want it to move, or gather it around some kind of expendable target or a treasure chest that you have left around conveniently in the open, and then just hit them there when they are a nice big target, then it's more effective. Here, a bit more different situation. When we only have one good melee fighter in our team, there are two goblins on the other side. I would say it's quite balanced in the melee or close combat, but they have 8 archers against our 1, 2 some kind of mages against our 1 mage. So we are way outnumbered in range combat. So one of the options here is to just go full Leroy Jenkins and charge the enemy. And like I said, this is just an example. You can do this in many ways. But here we have the thief using some kind of smoke bomb to reduce visibility on the left side. We have our mage casting fireballs on the right side. Even though it doesn't kill every archer goblin on the right side, at least they are not probably firing back that much when they are on fire. It's usually not that great for your combat effectiveness if you are on fire. We can, of course, when we can't see through the smoke either, but if we have some kind of expendable minion, we can still push through it with risk, but might be that it dies on the way or something like that. At least it's badly outnumbered on the other side. But if it's possible, then you can do it, or at least if you don't care about your minion that much. If we use smoke and fire like this, there is still a clear route for the melee fighter to attack the enemies. He can see where they are, so we are not blocking his movement with the smoke and fire. And still here we can support the melee fighter with our ranger or archer here. Of course, when he is here in combat, we don't want to shoot him in the back, but when he is moving up to the goblins, we can still support him. So some visibility, some area target things, and then with support still charging towards the enemy. Again, in this situation, for some reason, the adventuring groups want to attack. They are outnumbered. Do they have to fight? Why not run away and do something else? Of course, that depends on what's the part of the story that they are in. And here, another situation with more melee assets on the goblin side. And when I talk about flanking, I usually mean attacking the sides or the rear, but with small groups that turn around quite easily, you have to tie them up from the front as well. At least that's usually the easiest way to flank someone. Because if I'm just one-on-one, someone tries to flank me on the right side, I just turn around, and then it's just, again, face to face. But if I'm in combat with someone else, and his friend circles around me, then I have trouble. Of course, there are risks when you're doing a flanking maneuver. It divides your forces, but there is quite a lot of potential because it's hard on the morale with small forces, speedy maneuver. If you're able to at least look like that you have surrounded or about to surround your enemy, then their morale might break and they are running away again. Speed and good terrain helps here quite a lot. So what we are doing here, we use the melee fighter, and with some risk, we are also using the Tinkerer in a melee fight to tie down the goblins in the melee. Of course, this means that our healer probably has to heal quite rapidly, but that's just life. Our archer and mage circle on the right side, using the bushes as cover, and then they attack the ranged support in the back to try to take them out. And then we have fast cat-like minion who just runs so fast that the goblins aren't able to detect or react to him accordingly, and there is also a small diversion. If he runs this far, is he going to attack the support or the rear of the melee goblins? In this situation, he is helping our own melee fight in the front. But what would happen here if the goblins are also doing a flanking maneuver? If it's for example, if they send just 2 goblins to face our own melee fighters, and 4 goblins are in the bushes, and then there is a close combat with our archer and mage and 4 enemy goblins, then it's maybe not that great situation. So you are taking risks with a flanking maneuver, but if it works out, it is usually quite effective thing to do. More risks in this situation is that depending on how you are flanking, you might lose contact with your flanking unit. Here you could maybe theoretically say that these 2 here still see everyone, but our range fighters are not that in vision of our melee fighters, so there is a possibility that not everyone knows what's happening around them, which is also hard for the morale. Of course, when we are adventurers or something like that, they never run away or always trust that their friends are doing the right thing. But there are risks in a flank, but it's quite effective like I said, I think third time around. Then we have delaying actions, and in a delaying action you are exchanging area for time. So you have room to maneuver, but you can't defend everywhere for one reason or another. So if you need time here, for example, there is some kind of building here. Maybe there are two group members are trying to find a treasure or a secret passageway somewhere, and then there has been some preparations have been made on the north side of the stream, and they are just trying to buy time facing a huge goblin horde when they are hopelessly outnumbered. So here the idea is that you can't defeat that number of goblins in a sort of fair fight or in an unfair fight either, but you can maybe buy time a bit. On the left side there's some kind of obstacle, and with a pole arm or a spear our thief can maybe buy some time there. Of course he is taking quite a big risk because he is on the wrong side of the river. Hopefully he can jump quite nicely, or he is fast enough that he can get over the bridge before the center fails as well. In the center we have obstacles and some kind of traps, and of course our range fighters can probably shoot them there as well. And on the right side our melee fighter is waiting on the other side of the river. When the goblins start to wade through the water, then it's maybe a bit easier for him to fight there as well. And our expendable minion is there waiting in the bushes to bite them in the flank as well. So if you are able to prepare, a delaying action can buy you quite a lot of time. But if you are doing it with only quick preparations or no preparations at all, then this is also quite risky, because if you just push one of your squishy thieves on the wrong side of the river, there are no obstacles for him to use for his protection, then we might not see him again, and we need a new thief, and that's it. But like I said, sometimes when you can't defend, then this might buy you some time, so you can maybe get your mission done and run away to fight another day. And I'm actually quite a lot faster than I thought, but no matter. This is my last slide. Ambush is, at least one way to explain it is that it's a surprise attack from multiple or unexpected directions, or both, multiple and unexpected. If you are able to make some kind of blocking element, isolating element, and a diversion, then of course the ambush is more effective. But in any case, being ambushed is mentally quite taxing and hard on the morale. An L-shaped ambush is usually a good default. Like here, we have the one side of the L, and then our melee fighter and thief once again making the other side. The minion is a bit on the risky side of things. I'll explain in the next slide. So here we have a blocking element with our fighter, thief, and the wagon there, which stops the movement of the goblin pack of goblins on the road. Then if we use the diversion of smoke on the north side, then that is something that could catch their attention. They look on the north side of the road, seeing what kind of smoke is that, what's happening, while also getting fireballs in the rear from an unexpected direction, because they are first, their attention is on the front, then on the left side with the smoke, and then suddenly from the right side of their movement there is a fireball in the back of the column. Here we have created a quite nice area where we are blocking the goblins one way. Then there is, you could have obstacles here as well, but there is at least some room before the goblins reach the bushes here. And we are blocking them from this side, and they can't see very well through the smoke, so they don't, or if they go through the smoke, they are going into the unknown. But we can still see everything what is happening on the road with our range fighters here. So we have nicely blocked them from 3 sides, and from the 4th side we are still able to have some kind of effect on the target. The minion on the other side is in a bit of a risk, because he is coming from the same direction, or he's attacking from the opposite direction where we are usually firing arrows and fireballs and stuff like that. It's not that dangerous with melee only if you are quite sure that you know who is friendlies and who is enemies. With range weapons, you just better not miss. And if both sides would be using range weapons, we would have archers here and also archers on the other side. Then it's even more riskier that you just shoot through the enemy or over it and back to the, or mistakenly shooting friendlies. With melee or close combat, if you would charge from both sides, you're still sort of charging with friendlies against friendlies. So there are risks that you are actually, in the confusion of combat, you just hit everything that's in front of you, and this, your own guys on the other side are doing the same. But if you are sure that you know who is the enemy, for here example, just kill all the goblins and leave everyone else alive, then it could work. But there are risks in doing that. I don't have a picture from the other side. No, I don't. But if we change size, that we are the adventuring group of goblins here, being ambushed by some evil adventurers, this is not a very nice situation to be in. Let's start with that. But what you could do, usually it's not a good thing to stay in the sort of kill box that has been created by the ambush. Because if you stay here, you are staying in the area that has been planned to kill you. Usually it's best to not stay in that kind of areas. So either push through the front, retreat back, or just you could try assaulting this side if you know that that's where the enemy is. But I would suggest that you don't stay where you are. Of course, a good use of scouting could prevent this altogether. If you only have 2 goblins and the rest are far enough back that you can't deal with them in the same situation, then we have just 2 goblins facing the wagon, and then they realize that something is wrong, and they are able to stop the main force from reaching the same ambush site. But sometimes things happen, and then you just have to pick up the pieces and try to work it out. That was my last slide. There is still 5 minutes left. Thank you for your interest. And if you have any questions or comments, I'm ready for anything. My answers may be also anything.
Well, it came from the ambush. Especially, it's a good thing that if enemy has something that they cannot use to break through, if they have like their own card or have a harder time to get out of the kill box.
Yeah.
But that's also on the other way around. It's harder to adventurers if they have a slowly moving VIP.
Yeah, or their healer is just a healer and doesn't know how to run or something like that. And then there was, yeah.
I will use that elevation differences is a delight to use both from the perspective of the enemy ambushing the party and the party ambushing the enemy.
Yeah, that's actually one thing that I didn't go through at all. But yeah, elevation is nice. It's usually better to have the high ground. But sometimes if you're, well, that depends quite a lot of the weapon systems and stuff like that. But sometimes being on the high ground is the same as sort of waving a flag that I'm here, hit me. But it's usually better to be on the high ground than not be on the high ground.
Especially when it slows enemy down, especially if there is no easy way up.
Yep.
Just a quick question. Where is the L shape most optimally in this case? How about if adventurers attack from both north and south?
Well, if you're attacking from both sides, from north and south, especially with ranged weapons, it's quite easy to just miss your target and shoot through to the other side. And I would say that in melee also, if you are charging from both sides and just hitting everything, it's quite easy to just mistake your target and have some kind of friendly fire incident. In melee, you can, like I think I said, if you're really sure that you can say that which is the enemy and which is not, for example, goblins are short and all your friendlies are armored fighters this size, then just kill the little ones. But there are risks on that. And good.
An addition with an L shape, you can actually reinforce the other side if they run into trouble, like something unexpected happens.
Yeah, that's true. Actually,
You're not entirely isolated.
yeah, if they get in trouble, there is still at least a possibility of getting in the connection with these guys and vice versa. If these goblins suddenly charge here, it's not that far away for the melee fighters to come into their assistance and so forth.
Well, it came to mind that only when I think both ambushers are on the both sides is when there are elevation on their side.
That helps.
Yes, they can shoot always on the down way, so there is no friendly fire then.
Yeah, and of course you can do it from both sides, but you just have to accept that it's a risk.
Yes.
All right? Thank you for your attention, and I think that's it. Thank you.